After a regular evening, I surprisingly catch my wife with an old friend, together in our room. OMG, I never thought I'd witness that. Tori invited an old acquaintance to our home, leading to a mortifying and thrilling situation for my husband. Babe, you will never guess what, but I have an old friend visiting, my wife, Tori, announced while typing on her phone. I was driving us to the grocery store to prepare for the weekend. Really? When was the last time you saw him? It's a man, she clarified. I haven't seen him since before I went to university. Wow, I remarked. A guy. Don't get any wild notions, he is merely a good friend. Of course, I replied with a smirk. Don't start with that, he will arrive this evening. Are you okay with that? I'm fine with it, I responded, fully aware that she likely invited him before even asking for my opinion. After finishing our shopping, we returned home. We spent the afternoon tidying up and completing various chores. As evening approached, we had dinner and then Tori's phone rang. Hey, Tori said into the phone. You are in town. Fantastic, I will see you soon, she replied. Well, I guess he's on his way, she told me. He's taking a ride share. I was indifferent. Her old friends were mostly fine and none of them had access to my finances. Okay, but you're on your own. I have no idea what you both plan to do. We're just going to hang out and reminisce. Don't worry, babe, you can stay. It's no issue. Are you sure I won't be a third wheel? Don't fret. We will probably just sit and chat while enjoying a beer or two. The doorbell rang. Tori rushed to answer the door, and there stood her old friend, Arnold. They shared a long hug, during which he gave her a quick kiss on the cheek. You have a nice place, Arnold remarked, surveying the room. How's life treating you both? Life is good, Tori replied with a smile. Come inside. Would you like a beer? Yes, please, Arnold agreed, following my wife into the kitchen. I took a moment to evaluate him. He shook my hand firmly, and his grip was strong. He was dressed in business casual attire, and his fitted shirt showcased his well-built arms. He was about 6 feet tall and appeared to be someone who regularly visited the gym. I felt somewhat intimidated. Arnold is going to hang out with us for a while. You okay with that? Tori said, handing Arnold his beer. That's fine with me, I replied. We settled in the living room, where Tori and Arnold reminisced and caught up on their lives. They had been close friends but had not seen each other since high school. Arnold had attended college and became a lawyer, now working in the business sector. We talked and drank, but as the hours passed, I sensed it was getting late. I noted the way they exchanged glances and shared inside jokes that hinted at a deeper connection than mere friendship. What brings you to town, Arnold? I inquired, searching for something to say. Just work-related matters, he replied. I came to sort a few things out for a couple of days. He's staying in a rundown motel, Tori added. Perhaps we should call it a night, I suggested. Yeah, Tori said, offering Arnold a warm smile. Arnold nodded. Maybe I should head out and catch a rideshare, he proposed. You should stay the night, my wife unexpectedly exclaimed. Tori, I said, shaking my head disapprovingly. I apologize, babe, it just came out, Tori said in her defense. It's a long drive back to the city. I'll be all right, Arnold interjected, not wanting to impose. You can sleep in the guest room. Please, Tori insisted. After a moment of consideration, Arnold agreed. Great, I'll prepare the room, Tori said eagerly. Allow me to show you the way. Arnold followed her upstairs to the guest room. I got up to grab another beer and noted that she hadn't returned yet. Assuming they were catching up further, I switched on the television. 15 minutes passed, and I began to wonder what was keeping her. I turned off the TV and ascended the stairs. I heard Tori's voice resonating from our bedroom. I pushed open the door and froze. Tori was leaning back against our dresser, her top pulled up over her chest. Arnold was positioned between her legs, his face buried in her. His jeans and boxers were discarded on the floor. He had one of her legs propped up on his shoulder while he pleasured her. He paused, looking up at me, her essence smeared across his face. It's all right, Tori said. We're just having some fun. She grasped Arnold by the hair and urged him back down to her. Continue, she gasped. I stepped back, closing the door behind me. Oh, yes, please continue, I heard her moan. I walked downstairs and completed my beer, feeling unsettled. After a while, I heard them come down the stairs and enter the living room. Tori sat beside Arnold, smiling at him. I noticed he was sitting there with his arousal visibly evident. So, are you guys? I began to ask, but she interrupted me. We're just enjoying ourselves, babe, she assured. Don't worry, Arnold said. I have no intention of taking your wife away from you. All right, I replied, directing a smile at him. Arnold leaned forward, squeezing Tori's chest. She took hold of his arousal and started to stroke it. I watched as she leaned down, opening her mouth wide to take the tip of his arousal. I never imagined she would engage in such an act in front of me. I observed her taking him into her mouth and suddenly noticed Arnold was gazing at me with a smirk. Tori mentioned that you might be a bit of a voyeur. What? I replied, baffled. You enjoy watching, don't you? He inquired. I was at a loss for words. Tori indicated that you derive pleasure from seeing her with another man. I glanced at my wife in disbelief. She returned my gaze with a smile while continuing to take him into her mouth. Is that accurate? He asked. I don't know, I replied honestly. I'm certain you would love to witness her being filled, Arnold said. Wouldn't you? I sat there, contemplating them, my wife's bare chest, her lips enveloping another man's arousal. I presume you'd like to see me inside her, wouldn't you? He pressed. I don't know, I stammered. It's normal, he asserted. He stood up, lowering his jeans to the floor and approached me. What do you think? He asked. Do you not want to see me inside your wife? Would you not want to observe me taking her right here on the couch before your eyes? Yes, I confessed quietly. I want to see it. I suspected as much, Arnold said, grinning. You are a voyeur. I'm not, I protested weakly. There's no need to feel ashamed. I recognize your desire to see it. You wish to observe me with your wife. Yes, I want to see it, I admitted, gazing down at the ground, finally acknowledging it. It filled me with embarrassment to know that I had shared my secret kink with my wife and that she had divulged it to a stranger. Arnold chuckled. Take a seat in that chair, he instructed, pointing at the armchair across from the couch. I complied and sat down. You'll remain there, powerless to intervene because you have no authority. Look at yourself, complacent and neglecting your woman, which has driven her to seek men like me. I glanced at Tori, attempting to discern her thoughts amid all of this, but she was fixated on Arnold. Arnold positioned my wife by his side, compelling her to kneel before him. He seized his member and smacked her face gently with it. Open up, he commanded. All right, she moaned and complied. He guided his arousal into her waiting mouth. Suck it, he instructed. She enveloped it with her lips, beginning to pleasure him. He thrust deeper into her mouth until he almost reached the back of her throat. That's right. Take it all, he encouraged, progressively thrusting in and out. She struggled to breathe as he continued, forcing himself deeper each time until he was nearly fully within her. Good girl, he praised, guiding her with a firm grip on her hair while holding her head in place. He quickened his pace and she began to gag. Take it, he commanded, pushing it all the way in. He kept her there, his length buried deep in her mouth. She was fighting for breath, but he refused to relent. That's it, take everything, he said. Good girl. He finally drew out and she gasped for air. Are you all right? He asked. Yes, she panted between breaths. Wow, it's so overwhelming. I bet your husband couldn't do that. Ben is gentle. He's too soft to be rough like you. Shame washed over me again. It was never in my nature to be aggressive like this man, yet witnessing her being thoroughly pleasured was igniting a desire within me. I squeezed my legs together, striving to conceal my excitement. He instructed her to rise and settle back into the couch, spreading her legs wide for him. He knelt down, beginning to stimulate her intimately. Oh, yes, she whimpered. He maintained his ministrations until she became increasingly vocal. Oh, Arnold. You're drenched, he growled. Please, I need you to fill me, she begged. You desire this? Yes, take me. He teased her, rubbing the tip against her entrance. Beg for it, he demanded. Please, I need you inside me. He chuckled and gripped her hips, thrusting himself into her. Oh my God, she sighed. I inhaled sharply as his tip vanished within her. Wow, you are tight, he exclaimed. You're enormous, she moaned. He firmly grasped her hips, rhythmically thrusting in and out of her. That's it, take it, he encouraged. God, yes, please fill me. Do you want me to take you harder? Yes, please, she pleaded. He intensified his pace and she screamed in ecstasy. Oh yes, that's it. Take it, feel this. Fill me, she cried. He continued with fervor, eliciting louder cries from her. That's right, take this deep. No, he never takes me like this, she admitted. Your husband seems a bit weak, doesn't he? Yes, he's weak, she moaned. I'm not, I stuttered as humiliation engulfed me. Arnold smirked, continuing his relentless rhythm. Oh, you're about to make me release. That's it, let go for me, he urged. Surrender your pleasure all over me, you eager one. She shrieked and quivered, and he pressed on until she reached her peak, her face contorted in bliss as she held tightly onto him. Yes, she screamed, her whole body shaking. Yes. He maintained his pace, coaxing her into multiple climaxes until his release began to build. Oh, God, he groaned. I observed as his body tensed, delivering his essence deep within my wife. He withdrew and she collapses back onto the couch, completely exhausted. My goodness, she breathed, still trembling. Arnold turned to face me with a grin. Were you not entertained? He asked. I nodded, unable to voice my thoughts. My arousal pressed uncomfortably against my trousers. He forcibly moved me next to Tori. Spread those legs, he commanded her. Tori complied without hesitation, and I found myself positioned between them, looking up at her. Now open for me, he ordered, forcing my head down toward Tori's center. Her fingers guided my chin, prompting me toward her. Indulge in her, he growled. I began to lick and taste her essence mixed with Arnold's release. Oh, wow, she sighed. I continued, savoring the combination of her and Arnold until she cried out again. Oh no, I'm about to burst again. I persisted, feeling her body quake and tighten around me as she climaxed. Her thighs gripped my head as she let go of herself again. Wow, she moaned. This feels incredible. He kept pushing my face deeper into her, never allowing a break. That's right, you enjoy it, he encouraged me. I could feel her reach a peak again, her form shivering as she finally concluded, relinquishing all around me. After Arnold finally withdrew, he kept me in position, remaining between them, tasting her remnants. That was enjoyable, Arnold remarked, smiling. Absolutely it was, Tori gasped, struggling to breathe. You have embarrassed me, I murmured. But you enjoyed it, didn't you? I lowered my gaze, feeling ashamed. You are indeed a loser, aren't you? Arnold laughed. And no, I protested. Then why did you indulge in your wife's essence? A true man would have rejected it. You're nothing but a laughingstock. And no, I'm not, I whimpered. Tori loosened my waistline, freeing my manhood. She caressed it slowly. Now, is this what a real man's essence looks like? Does this fulfill your wife's desires? Arnold mocked. I glanced down, feeling small. It's pathetic, Arnold said, shaking his head. Indeed, Tori agreed, nodding. Their words stung deeply, yet only intensified my longing. Do you have a desire to fulfill your wife's needs? Arnold inquired. Yes, I whispered. What was that? Yes, I said louder this time. Speak louder. Yes. Then request it politely, Arnold demanded, locking eyes with me. I hesitated. Say the words, he pressed. Please, may I engage with my wife? Arnold smirked. Go ahead, he granted. He released Tori's hand and she directed me toward her. I felt her guiding me inside her, so warm and inviting. Oh my, I groaned. There was something intoxicating about mingling my essence with his within her that heightened my excitement. Her hand gripped my head, urging me onward. Pleasure me, she beckoned. Fill me with that. I pushed forward, driving into her. My body glided in and out, lost in the moment. Oh, indeed, I moaned. Your warmth feels delightful. Keep it coming, she urged. I lost myself in the rhythm of our connection. The sensations enveloped me. Not as pleasing as what I offer, Arnold noted. No, she whined. What you provide is beyond comparison. Only those equipped with ample size can satisfy, Arnold chuckled. It's true, she moaned. I crave large sizes. Then you should have chosen someone more fitting than this inept man, he snickered. I'm aware, she admitted, but Ben is far too submissive. A wave of shame consumed me as I recognized my inadequacies in front of her partner. Still, I endeavored to push it aside and focus on her. I'm ready to reach my peak, I announced. No, Arnold replied, yanking my body back before I could finish. But I want to release within my wife, I objected. You don't get that privilege anymore. But, I started. You don't get to finish inside your wife, he reiterated. Now extract that pathetic length out of her. I complied, standing before them, my need still evident. Stroke yourself, he commanded. Do it for your wife. I began to pleasure myself, the sensations on fire. Remark how pathetic you are, he instructed. My size is sad, I stuttered. Speak confidently. My size is sad, I declared firmly. Declare it again. My size is sad. Excellent, he proclaimed. He seized Tori's hand, forcing her to tighten her grip around me. Make your husband experience joy, he ordered. She resumed her motions, bringing pleasure. I gazed at her, capturing her expression of pity. Will you release for me, dear? She probed. Absolutely, I said, short of breath. Make your wife joyful, Arnold encouraged. Release entirely on your pathetic member. I felt her hand quicken around me, drawing me closer. That's it, Arnold said, a gleam in his eye. Unleash your emotions on your wife's form. As pressure mounted, I knew I was nearing my climax. I am about to release, I gasped. Let it go, he urged. Let it spray all over her. Oh my God, I exclaimed, releasing myself uncontrollably across her. It was the most exhilarating moment of my life. Absolutely, fill her lovingly, Arnold cheered. Let her witness your affections. Wow, I articulated, the sensations overwhelming as they washed over her. Perfect, Arnold celebrated. Shortly after, he forced me to kneel before Tori. Clean your essence, he remarked. I complied and eagerly gathered my release from her. Well done, he encouraged. Good boy. I found myself kneeling there, caught between embarrassment and shame. You truly are nothing but a shadow of a man, he declared with disdain. You will never possess true strength or a true woman. I submitted, acknowledging his words. I remained unworthy. But take heart, he said with a smile. Your wife still has affection for you. She will always remain by your side. I glanced up at him, then at Tori. She offered me a sympathetic smile and nodded. Indeed, she affirmed. I will always stand by you, Ben. Regardless of circumstances, you are my husband and my love for you will endure. I reciprocated her smile. I must leave now, but the next time I visit, I will ensure to give her what she genuinely craves. Arnold stood up, towering over me, his desire evident. You remain a mere spectator, he grinned, but you will eternally be her spectator. That is your place. Yet you can accept it because your heart is with your wife. I nodded, smiling back at him, accepting my role. Good boy, he patted my back as he turned to exit. Tori embraced me tightly, whispering into my ear. It's all right, she comforted. I am here for you. In that moment, I realized I would always exist in her shadow. That reality was acceptable because my love for her was unwavering. Story 2. OMG, I snooped through my GF's phone while she slept. Now, she's questioning everything and I'm lost on how to regain her trust. We have been together for nearly a year, with a brief interruption in between. During most of this time, we have been exclusive, and after finally becoming official recently, I made the decision to look through her phone while she was asleep. This is not something I have ever done before, but I wanted to confirm that I was the only one in her life. Typically, she falls asleep with her phone, and I always put it on charge before going to sleep myself. But for some reason, 2 weeks ago, I felt compelled to take a look. I was away in another state and drove straight back to see her because she seemed a bit off that day, leading to my unease about the situation, prompting me to check her phone. I regret this decision. What I found did not deeply disturb me, apart from a couple of male friends who send her sexually suggestive Instagram reels and messages and often offer to help her out, like giving her rides or buying her items, which is minor but concerning nonetheless. Since she does not drive, it is not unusual for her to accept rides from friends. Additionally, we live about an hour apart. Otherwise, I would gladly help her out more often. In the early stages of our relationship, one of these so-called friends created a fake account to fabricate stories about me, pretending to be my ex in order to distance her from me and gain an opportunity with her. After a few weeks, this person confessed his feelings to her, only for her to shut him down and later apologize to me for not supporting me during that time, ultimately choosing to reconnect with me. He is no longer a part of the picture, but my mind often drifts back to these other male friends because of past experiences. I have no issue with her having male friends, but we have previously discussed how some of them are interested in her and are attempting to pursue her romantically, which makes me uncomfortable. We agreed that she should avoid spending time with them individually, as it may give them the impression that there is a possibility. Although she does not actively encourage their advances, she does not completely dismiss them either, appearing somewhat naive and labeling them as just friends, ignoring the underlying issue. I understand the mindset of young men, and I recognize that some, though not all, are likely trying to pursue her. She views it as friendship and will likely keep them around if they continue to do things for her while being part of the same social circles as her female friends. I acknowledge that she is younger and socializes more than I do, which I am perfectly fine with. Everyone deserves to enjoy life. When we began our relationship, I stopped communicating with all the women I had been talking to, and I rarely converse with my female friends, who are either married or in committed relationships, unless they reach out, which is infrequent. I have always viewed this with some reservation, but I also accept it. The day after I discovered the phone issue, I briefly brought it up. We discussed it and ended up having a wonderful day together. However, I felt guilty the following day after my actions and decided to be honest with her, confessing that I had looked through her phone. I believed this would help ease my conscience and maintain transparency, which I always strive for. She became extremely upset, feeling that I had broken her trust despite us having previously agreed that we could look at each other's phones if we asked first. She frequently uses mine while I drive, and I have no problem with it. Currently, we are on a 2-week hiatus. Initially, she expressed uncertainty about whether this relationship is meant to be and said she needed time to process everything. Despite our previous conversations about how deeply we care for one another and how aligned our values and future plans are, she has significant emotional scars from past relationships where her phone was violated. One past partner even kidnapped her after viewing a photo of her with an ex on her phone. She tried to end the relationship while he was driving, but he did not allow her to leave. She stated that she believed I would behave differently and that this situation placed me on a similar level as those past individuals, which deeply hurt me. I completely empathize with her feelings and am filled with regret. I explained my actions and emotions, expressing my commitment to working together to rebuild that trust, no matter how challenging it may be. I am not trying to diminish the difficulty of the situation because I understand how my actions affected her. I realize it is my error, but I cannot shake the feeling that my actions, alongside the actions of others, have placed me in this position. We had originally planned a weekend away together, but she reached out to me expressing her disappointment in seeing our plans fall through. I told her that we could still go, so last weekend, we drove 5 hours to enjoy the getaway. It was an idyllic weekend filled with driving and walking through national parks, enjoying lots of food, teaching her to drive, spending time at the beach, drinking wine, dancing, and singing together under the stars. It felt straight out of a romantic film. At one point, she leaned in and kissed me, then apologized, stating she did not want to give the wrong impression, but it felt right. I reassured her that it was okay to follow her feelings. Everything seemed to be in place for us to work through our issues and become even stronger together. I chose not to address where she stood regarding our relationship during the trip, as we had already discussed everything, and I aimed to simply enjoy our time together and help her feel more at ease with our situation. Even when I dropped her off, she called out, "Love you," as she left my vehicle. In the days that followed, she has been texting me more frequently and keeping me updated on her life, which I appreciate. However, during our drive back, she made a couple of comments about one of her male friends, who is currently involved with another girl, and mentioned how he jokingly says some inappropriate things. I laughed at the time, but later, when I jokingly repeated a similar comment, she responded with, "Oh, stop it, male friend's name. You're turning me on." While this was amusing initially, I felt uncomfortable when she later informed me that she had met up with the aforementioned male friend, who sent her sexually suggestive messages and drove her to run errands while treating her to lunch. This revelation made me very uneasy and honestly angry after everything we had discussed, leading me to wonder if she might be trying to provoke a reaction from me testing boundaries to see if I would become upset, as she is aware of my feelings on this matter. Nonetheless, I chose not to confront her about it and acted as if it did not bother me. It is possible she is attempting to show me that she will not engage with them and that I should not be concerned, all the while wanting to ensure I won't react negatively if we decide to move forward. I have been giving her space while occasionally messaging her when she initiates contact, hoping she will come around. It seems as though she truly wants to make this work, but it's not my place to push for it. She is an incredibly beautiful woman, everything I have ever dreamed of. We bring out the best in each other and motivate one another to improve. Our compatibility is remarkable. I have never felt uncomfortable around her, and we are always able to have open conversations. She inspires me, and I wish to do everything I can to make this situation right. I am truly at a loss regarding this entire situation and am uncertain about how to proceed. What is your perspective on this situation from both sides, and what do you believe would be the best course of action for me? Summary: I went through my girlfriend's phone, and she cannot forgive me for breaching her trust. Everything seems to align for us to work things out. We have communicated and spent time together, but I am unsure of her feelings. It is not my role to press the issue. I am unsure of how to proceed.